And our next presenter is a legendary brawler from Texas. He made his career by wrestling more Japanese than any other American wrestler, and he beat most of them with that famous Western lariat of his. He also made quite an impact in the old WWF when he wrestled Bruno Sammartino and actually broke Bruno's neck, but that's another story for another time. Right now, ladies and gentlemen, Stan Hansen.
Thank you. I tell you, I spent the last 25 years basically in Japan, and during that time, I never had one interview. So if I get up here and stumble around a little bit, I hope you bear with me. But it's my honor here tonight to introduce Antonio Inoki for the Hall of Fame. I was very fortunate to wrestle in Japan for a long time, and all the top people, all the top professional wrestlers that came up through the ranks, and that's a hard rank to come up through, believe me. I touched most of them, but Antonio Inoki stands out alone in many respects. He was not only a great athlete, but he had a special place for the people in Japan. He was a household name. I mean, people, everybody in the whole country knew Antonio Inoki's name. That's how over he was. His family immigrated to Brazil, and Ricky Dozan, the grandfather of pro wrestling in Japan, was down in Brazil, and he heard about a pure Japanese kid that was in the shot put and had won the national shot put championship. So Mr. Dozan looked up Inoki, made a deal with him, talked to his parents and everything, and brought him back as a young star to be trained under him. The rest of the story, of course, is that he became a household name and a real icon in Japan. Not only did he excel in all the athletic endeavors, he was really excited about promoting pro wrestling. I mean, pro wrestling. He had a lot of pride in pro wrestling. And that kind of pride is that old school pride of myself also. And so we have a connection there that a lot of the old timers have. But in Japan, it was such a physical and fast pace, and Inoki was right in there. And I was fortunate enough to be in there trying to keep up with him. It seems that not until 1976, when the Shea Stadium, and he put together the match. Everybody dreamed of having a boxer against wrestler match, but only Inoki finally put it together. He was the one that put it together and went out there and established this, you know, what became, I guess, mixed martial arts and so forth and so on. But he did it as a wrestler, nothing more, just a pro wrestler. And I have great respect for him in that sense. He used the sport of wrestling to promote peace, as you've seen in the clip about going to Korea, and he went back and recognized Ricky Dozan, who came from Korea, and that was North Korea. Nobody had hardly ever gone into North Korea, but Inoki did it. He also used that power of his image and athleticism and everything to go into Iraq before the Iraq War, when there were some hostages, and he got some hostages released. He was such an international guy. He pushed the envelope so much, you know, because he was out in India and he was out in Pakistan long before anybody else would go there to try to wrestle, to broaden out pro wrestling. I think one of the things that he is most proud of is that he is considered a pro wrestler. And it took me a long time. Yeah, you're right. Let me give you a few examples after Shea Stay and everything. Vince McMahon Sr. got me booked over to Japan for Mr. Inoki. And in the next 4 or 5 years, I had the opportunity to wrestle against him so much, but I had no idea. I knew he was the guy who fought against Muhammad Ali, but I didn't really know who Inoki the person was and how over he was in Japan. Well, later on, there's a couple of interesting little stories to show how over he is and what a household name and how people just love the guy. One time, my back was bad, you know, and Dynamite Kid and I, we got on a train, and Inoki put us on this train. And it took about like 8 hours to get all the way down on this train, and it wasn't one of those bullet trains. This is one of those local yokels, you know, that stops about every 20 minutes, and, you know, it had these straight back seats, and man, it was brutal because our backs were hurting anyway. So we went down to Beipu, which is on Kyushu Island, and it's in the southern part of Japan, and it's real famous for its hot springs and its chiropractors and everything. Well, we had never ever gone to one, but he'd sent us down there, and so when we go into this chiropractor, you know, he starts talking, and he knew who we were and who were coming, and that we were opponents of Inoki, right? So the first thing they did, they get out these cups and they get this liquid and they lay you down on your stomach, and they light a match, and they light this fluid, and all of a sudden there's this big flame, and they drop this cup over it, and it makes a vacuum. And then they do it again, and then they do it again, and, you know, Dynamite and I, you know, he was looking at me, actually, as I was getting it done, and I was going, God, what's going on? Anyway, finally, after about 5 minutes, they take these cups off, and you got these huge hickeys on your back. I mean, they're just, blue, where it's just sucked all the blood up there. And so, in the way they adjust over there is not laying you on your side. They get you to sit down, and they get up behind you, and they put you put their arm around your neck, and they get up back, and they put the knee right into the back of, you know, where you're supposed to be out, and bending your back. Now your back's hurt. You don't even, you know, you don't want to be doing that to start with. You've seen all this fire and everything. You're going, what am I into? So finally the guy gets me, and he starts bending back, and in the back and in my ear he says, if you're not good, I adjust you where you become impotent. Whoa! And I said, whoa, wait. I got out, I said, Piper, not Piper, excuse me. I said, Dynamite, get in here. You go ahead and do it. You know, I think I'm all right. So you'll have to get a hold of Dynamite and find out if he did that to him and if it worked. Another time, Inoki was wrestling Jack Briscoe, and Briscoe had come over. Yeah, God rest old Jack. Yeah, we lost a great one this year. Jack was, he wasn't the NWA champion, but he brought over basically Jack Briscoe's name, and he put up $10,000 against Inoki's belt. And so the match, anyway, during the match, whoever won gets the, you know, if Inoki wins, he gets the $10,000. Well, they had $10,000 and 10,000 yen, which is, you know, two big old stacks of bills about this big. And the place is sold out, and Chavo Guerrero Sr. and Steve Kern, we were all standing in the back, and we were watching, you know, and we're going, wow, man, you know, we were just kind of watching the match. And of course, you know, it's a great match. Jack Briscoe and Inoki, are you kidding me? You know, it was a great wrestling match. And all of a sudden, you know, Inoki goes over, and, you know, we're going, wow, man, what a good match and everything. And all of a sudden, Inoki goes, he gets the money that Jack, you know, presents him. He gets this money, and he starts slinging it out, man, everywhere, out of the ring. Man, we backed up, and so, God, man, we all started running down, man. We ran right down into the people, you know, and finally Kern and Chavo, they stopped. But I went on in there a little bit and reached down, and, you know, I got me one little old bill and brought it back, you know. And it just goes to show, you know, the kind of promotion and you know, that giving it to the fans, right? Of course, I was a little hungry myself. And the last story I want to tell a little bit is about the time I was up in Sapporo. And who had ever thought this had happened? I'm wrestling Inoki, and I guess I had a little wild style. And I was outside, and I had Inoki bent over this rail. The rail is around the ring. And I was bent down, and I was choking him, and, you know, and all of a sudden, I look up, and believe me, I took my glasses off before I come out here because, you know, I don't see too good, and y'all are just a form out there, and that's how I was able to do what I did for 30 years. But anyway, I can't see very good, but I got him bent over the rail, and I look up, and I see this guy giving me a big baseball windup. And about right here it's coming, I'm choking, and he's only about 2 feet away from me. I mean, his arm's almost going to hit me in the head. And I look, and I see something white, and it's an egg. And at the last second, I dropped my head, and man, he hit me with that egg. I cleared that rail. And what I did in Japan is that once they broke, they kept running, and I kept after them. And I don't have good eyesight, but I was locked in on him that night. And I followed this guy all the way around, and finally I knew that if I chased him long enough, that he would trip over somebody or something. And sure enough, he went down. And anyway, I picked him up and taught him a little lesson. And then, I went back into the ring and we finished the match. Well, the next day, big trouble. Peter Takahashi, the referee, comes, big trouble. You need to go right now. We have to go to police station. All day long, they had me in this little cubicle, and it's like something you see in a movie, right? On the back, there's a bunch of blood-stained wall behind you, and these two really big police officers in these uniforms. They're sitting there and they're talking and they're trying to irritate interrogate me, excuse me. And so finally, when it's all with, they want me to sign. I don't sign. Finally, they finally let me go because I had a show to go to. We had the same show, the same night. Anyway, we go back to the show. Comes to find out, there's this guy at the show, and he's got this big ball of tape on his nose. And he comes up to me, and he does this huge, deep bow. And he says, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Please, let me take you out. Now I'm going, yeah, right. You want to take me out after I spent all day in jail because I need you in the face, and now you want to take me out? Well, make a long story short, Inoki talked to him and had talked to him and told him, about the whole deal. And this guy ended up becoming a great sponsor of me through Inoki. And so that the reason I tell these stories is that you really realize what a unique position Antonio Inoki has achieved in Japan. And so after 5 decades and 50 years of pro wrestling, it's my honor to introduce Antonio Inoki into the 2010 WWE Hall of Fame.
Thank you, Stan. he knows my English is very bad. So he take care all my speech cover me. So I don't have to say nothing anymore. I started in Japan. Say, you are okay. Ladies and gentlemen, and member of WWE, I thank you for attending this ceremony today. It is true honor for me to receive the prestigious award, and timing is perfect. My first match was in 1960, when I was 17 years old. So this marks the 50th anniversary of my debut professional wrestling. Thus, this memorable day, I promise support, development, and evolution of professional wrestling and martial arts general. Thank you very much. Let me speak Japanese. 今日は日本からも多数のファンの皆さんが駆けつけてくれました。
There's a lot of people from Japan today, my fans here today. Thank you very much.
今年はちょうどデビューして50周年という、そこに今回の殿堂入りという大変名誉な賞をいただくことになり、これは関係者の皆さん、またファンの皆さんのお力添えと心より感謝しております。
This year happened to be the 50th anniversary year for me, and I'm very honored and grateful to be inducted to the Hall of Fame this year. And I really appreciate to everybody who's been working on this and to all the fans out there. Thank you.
50年を振り返りますと、先ほど映像にも出ましたが、いろんな強敵とも戦ってまいりましたが、やはり1976年のモハメド・アリとの試合です。
And I've been watching all my matches recently throughout the 50 years of my life. And most of course, the famous match happened to be the fight against Mr. Muhammad Ali.
その後、モハメド・アリ氏とは大変親交が深く、お互い友情が生まれました。
And after that match, I was able to get a real nice friendship with him.
北朝鮮の先ほどフィルムにもありました19万人、2日間で38万人のメインゲストとして招待させてもらいました。
And with our friendship, I was able to make a big event in North Korea with 190,000 people, with 2 days, 380,000 people attend.
いろんなところで、あるいはイラクの紛争地で、危ない戦地に起きてプロレスを通じて世界平和を訴えてですね、先ほどご紹介にありました通りで重複することはないと思います。
And with the skills of pro wrestling and with the help of pro wrestling, I was able to promote a sports and peace treaty show where I was able to wrestle in Iraq and put together a sports peace event.
最後に、一つ意表をつく、人をびっくりさせる、そしてファンの皆さんに感動と夢を送るということが私のテーマです。
And last of all, for me, it's very my main message is to give the fans a surprise and to give a lot of great memories throughout my match.
今温暖化で世界が毎日新聞の記事になります。 一つ提案ですが、WWE の皆さんに、南極で試合をしようと、イベントを組みましょう。その時、観客の皆様はみんなペンギンのぬいぐるみを着てもらいたい。
I've been doing a lot of ecological projects too, and very unique events. And because of global warming, I wanted to put together an event in the middle of Antarctica with penguins there. And I wanted to, if possible, do it with WWE, if you guys want to.
それでは恒例となりました、日本的、国民的パフォーマンスというか、私が1、2、3、1、2、3と言ったら、一緒に最後にダーッと手を挙げていただけると元気になります。
And I've been doing it in Japan. This is very famous over there. We count 1, 2, 3 and shout da, raise your hand up and da together. And this gives everybody happiness and energy.
じゃあ一緒にご唱和を。
So if we could do it together tonight to celebrate Hall of Fame, 1, 2, 3 da together.
いくぞ !1、2、3、ダー! Thank you very much.